Because
you have at least a solid number one, and he really could do that. He'd be a fantastic number two, but he's low running back number one.
Yeah, and so with me looking at my situation with how weak of the running back situation is, I can easily say that Doug Martin was just a safer pick.
Sure.
In the long run.
Sure. So then next is Zach Stacy of the St. Louis Rams.
Now, there's one thing that happened today that I think helped Zach Stacy.
Let's see. It goes back to the debate we had earlier. So Zach Stacy's quarterback, Sam Bradford, he got injured and he's done for the season. So they didn't have him last year, and he did pretty well. Sunny playing in our league, she says that when you have a better quarterback, you're not gonna be able to run as much. Which, if I did pick sides, I'd say that you want to have a better quarterback, because it's like with no Sean Moreno and Peyton Manning last year. You're gonna help each other out. You're gonna feed off each other.
Mm-hmm. And also, I do love the fact.
Zach Stacy, you idiot.
I'm sorry. I was actually watching the television. There's a black cat that's on the field. It got me really.
David's looking at cats on the screen while we're doing a podcast.
Yes, I'm watching some pussy
your commitment is lacking.
I'm sorry. The cat is so adorable. Oh, he just dropped the cat.
Okay.
That's so adorable.
Moving on. Zach Stacy. So he's a guy that you shouldn't keep Zach Stacy and expect him to be a number one. He's a number two. He could be a low number one, but he's a great number two running back. What I like is that he doesn't have a whole lot of competition there.
Yeah, and is the player that kept him, did she have another
You mean Kevin kept him?
Kevin kept him? Yeah. So he has Arian Foster. What the fuck, dude? You just farted.
I did.
I hope that this thing caught that.
Okay, we'll have to look that up. What time are we at? We're at...
Oh, I don't know.
45,
45 minutes, and you just farted.
We'll see how good your mic is.
God!
Do you have smell-o-vision on this thing?
So first, it's a pussy really distracted me, and now you farting really distracted me.
Yeah, so...
This is such a family-friendly show.
Zach Stacy isn't going to hold up. You watch Cat get distracting. I rip ass.
I think you're just looking at just destroying me.
Yes, I'm trying to ruin your non-existent reputation.
Rude.
Yeah, it's like you can't go any lower. It's like you're like you can't go any lower. You're like the bottom of the barrel.
Thanks, man.
But that's good, because then you can only improve.
I can only approve.
Okay, do we have anything else to say about Zach Stacy?
No, not really.
So next on the running back rankings, we're gonna end here pretty shortly with the running backs. CJ Spiller.
Now, CJ Spiller. Now, the one thing I don't like about having him is that he has Fred Jackson. Now, Fred Jackson and CJ Spiller, they split the time with the ball.
Sure.
And actually, if you look at Fred Jackson, got more points than CJ Spiller.
Fred Jackson's 30. He's like 31, 32. I'm not buying Fred Jackson at all.
Now, the one thing, though, I like about Fred Jackson over CJ Spiller is that, yes, he has more mileage, but he splits time, and so his mileage this year will be less. And I think his overall points will be a little bit more than an average 31-year-old from his age that are trying to do it all.
Sure, yeah, he's defied father time, but he's going to catch up to him. Who I think you should look out for is like a dark horse is Bryce Brown. He came over from the Eagles. He's in the Bills backfield. In addition to that, they also have Anthony Dixon, who's probably going to be like a goal line guy who could steal some carries. He came over from the Niners, so we know him well. So, CJ Spiller's got a lot of talent, but he has a lot of competition. And, I'm not really going to buy on him because it's just too messy for me. He's one of those guys that if he goes on someone else's team and he has a great year, hats off to you. I don't want any part of it.
I agree, and that's why he was not kept in our league.
The only person I would keep is who I would draft is Bryce Brown with a late pick. Especially if you're in a really deep league, you got to pick up Bryce Brown because especially if you have CJ Spiller, you got to handcuff him Bryce Brown, I think, because that guy's really underrated. I'd say,
and especially with the last pick or the last couple picks, that's what you want to do. You want to go after those dark horses, and a lot of times, especially with you, they pay off. You do your homework, and you're just like, this is what I want, and You don't pay much for it.
Sure. When you're in those late rounds, you shouldn't be taking someone like Fred Jackson. Sorry, Dave. But
Hey, Fred Jackson worked out for me.
Okay, no, you shouldn't be taking people like Fred Jackson. You gotta be taking lottery tickets. You gotta be taking shots. You gotta be taking guys with high upside. So moving on, we're gonna do our final one, and this is Alfred Morris. He was kept.
Yeah, now that's the mystery for me, because with our league, it's a PPR. He does not get thrown to at all. He is just a straight up running.
Yeah, he's a smash mouth guy. But here's the thing: is that I read into it. They're planning to get him the ball a little bit more. The new coach there is Jay Gruden, and he said that he wants to get Morris to catch the ball more. Morris is embracing it. So if you're in a PPR league, some people will not value him as high. I would actually maybe reach for Alfred Morris because he could be a great pick. He's got a good quarterback who can run around. He's got some good wide receivers on the outside. He's got an offensive-minded coach. I'm buying on Alfred Morris, and when Kelly kept him, I was really bummed because I was hoping I could exploit that. And Alfred Morris, he could potentially be a number 1 running back, I'd say.
He just needs to get.
He's a great, solid number 2 running back.
But I just had to say though, if there's those games where he just doesn't get those touchdowns, you just can't rely that he's actually gonna get the points any other way.
I couldn't disagree more because he just chalks up yards like no one else's business. He always gets you like 80 yards usually.
So you're gonna say that was a good pick by her?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Kelly, good pick.
Hey, don't kill me, Kelly.
So kind of looking through some of the other running backs we're briefly going to touch on. Ryan Matthews, Chargers. I really don't want anything to do with the Chargers. I think that you're taking shots at that point. You're banking that either Woodhead or Matthews is going to win the job.
But if you're in the lower rounds, I think that could be a safe bet, especially with the Danny Woodhead.
Sure.
Because I love myself some Danny Woodhead. I mean, he took my team and he helped out so much. Just not because he got the rushes. The rushes were non-existent. But he got those catches and he got those touchdowns.
Okay. Let's kind of go rapid fire here. Rashad Jennings, I think he has upside. Solid number 2. Yeah. I draft him, but you gotta have a backup plan.
Yeah, I just don't trust him with the New York Giants.
Toby Gerhart, a kind of unproven guy, is a high yardage per carry. Yeah, I'd go after him, but I wouldn't expect him again be that number 2. He's a guy who has question marks.
Yeah, then that's with these rapid fires you guys will notice.
And the Jaguars, they're just so bad. They're just not a good team.
Yeah.
So he might get you some yards, but he's not going to get you any touchdowns. Drake Bell, we mentioned him. I definitely draft him even if you don't have Bush. If you have Bush, you absolutely have to get Drake Bell. I'd say Pierre Thomas, he's the guy in New Orleans. He's a guy in PPR league. He should be owned. He's a great flex guy. He's not a sexy guy. He's probably not going to win your league, but he's not going to make you lose the league. Ray Rice, he's going to be suspended a few games, but I think that you should maybe take a flyer on him because he's got a lot of value, and if he's the Ray Rice of old and later in the years, then you made a good pick. But he sucked last year, even when he was.
But this preseason, he's actually shown that he's willing to work at trying to get those extra yards.
Yeah.
I feel like once I saw him in the preseason, I think he wants to prove himself.
Yeah. So Chris Johnson of the Jets, I think he's a good sleeper pick. I think that a lot of people might undervalue him, and he could potentially have a bounce back year because the Jets like to run the ball. But they also have they have some other guys there. I forget who they have.
Yeah, who really cares about the Jets?
Yeah. Moving on
to a wide receiver.
No, I'm gonna finish up. Because running backs are deep. Ben Tate, Browns are just awful, and Ben Tate, he's injured prone. I'm staying away from him. I wouldn't recommend him.
Yeah.
Bishop Shanky, if you can get him early in the mid rounds, take a flyer on him. He's a starting running back. Lamar Miller, you shouldn't touch him because I think that he was bad last year. I think Moreno's undervalued and he could potentially do better. Frank Gore, he's getting old. He's I guess kind of in the same status as.
And the one thing I like about the Niners is I like their rookie running back. Like what I've seen of him, I liked. I felt he's like a young Frank Gore. And it would be interesting to see if he gets some little
Carlos
bit more.
Hyde, he's one of those guys that you absolutely have to handcuff and get his backup running back. Trent Richardson, he's a guy. He's a big question mark. He's a guy that I would absolutely take a flyer on, but you need to wait on him. You can't be expecting him to be like your running back number 2. He's like a flex option.
He shit all over me last year. I pick him up as my second overall pick. Oh man, that was such a bad thing to do, and I don't think I would ever trust him again after what I've dealt with throughout last year.
Okay, so we're moving on to wide receivers.
Now, wide receivers. Now, this is such a deep.
This is your
position.
This is your bread and butter PPR league, and I think one of the main reasons why I won last year in football was I was able to make a trading DeMarco Murray essentially for Antonio Brown and Jordy Nelson, which really boosted my season. Those guys went off, so you really gotta make sure you have some guys who can put up the numbers. It's really deep. But I think that you need to make sure you got some good guys at the top.
Yep. So who are those wide receivers that were kept?
So Megatron,
Oh God, Megatron.
We don't need to talk too much about him. He's a stud. You're keeping him. I think he should be going in the top 10 of all picks because this guy's a stud. They got Golden Tate on the outside now, so hopefully that'll free up Megatron a little bit. He's definitely hands down the number 1 guy.
Yeah, he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver of the year.
Demaryius Thomas, Peyton Manning's new favorite target. I think that, I'm not as high on Demaryius Thomas. I just don't like that, with Wes Welker's there. I think they might spread the ball around too much. He's a guy that, I would let slip, and I'd probably draft someone else over him.
So you want to actually keep him as a keeper?
Oh, yeah, I'd absolutely keep him as a keeper. He's a guy who I'd probably try to move.
Okay.
But, he's still really good. He's probably the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, the one thing, though, like with Denver, they passed it so much to so many different players that at the end of the day, you just never knew who was going to be that person to get the ball, get the points. And with our league, we had one person that had all the Denver Bronco players, so no matter what, he was getting his points that week.
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about that later. Des Bryant, I've been horribly down on Des Bryant. I don't like the off-field issues. I don't like his quarterback.
Oh, God.
He's got great talent. No doubt about it. But, I think a lot of times you need to understand, like, these are our rankings, but ultimately you need to go with with your gut. You need to go with players you like. And Des Bryant, for whatever reason, I just don't like him. He's a guy that I would draft, but I'm not reaching for him. He's got to slip if I'm going to take him.
But the thing is like Tony Romo, his quarterback. Who knows what they're going to get from him this year?
Yep.
And he needs someone to throw to him to get his points.
Yep.
And so I just stay away.
Stay away. So here's the guy I kept, AJ Green. AJ Green, he's been one of the more consistent wide receivers, and that's why I drafted him last year, and that's why I'm keeping him this year. He might not be top 5. I say he's top 5, but he might slip in some people's top 5s. But the thing is, he's consistent. And I think Andy Dalton is a little underrated. A lot of people are down to Andy Dalton, but I think Andy Dalton is a good, solid young quarterback. He does his job. I think that any year now, these guys can really connect and maybe be like a Megatron Stafford connection.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
Brandon Marshall, he's kept.
Oh.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about Brandon Marshall is that he has some off-the-field issues, and he's got Alshon Jeffrey on the other side, but they were productive, and that was with Josh McCown, and he's another consistent guy, and I'm really bummed that he was kept because I would have totally grabbed Brandon
And the
Marshall.
one thing I love, though, is that you're seeing in the preseason, the 2 wide receivers from Chicago are still getting their points.
Yeah.
They're still getting their receptions. And I think that if one of them goes down, I hope it doesn't have like a Julio Jones type of feel, where Roddy White's the one saying, I have to do it all, and he suffers because
That's a great point. Yeah. Speaking of Julio Jones, he's the next one, and I'm surprised he's this high because he's coming off an injury. This guy I'm a little worried about, but this guy has elite talent, and he should be drafted in the first few rounds. But, he's too much of a question mark for me. I want someone a little bit more secure, especially in my early rounds.
Yeah, and one of the great things about in our league, we had this ultimate trade rate. I don't know if it's a trade rate, but it's just the worst of the worst could have happened. So one of our people, they had Megatron. The other one had Jones. And they said, let's trade him.
Yeah, a week later, then Julio Jones goes down with the injury.
And it was the worst thing that could have happened. His season got sunk right at that time. And, oh, man. I'm just glad, though, he kept him.
Yeah, but the point is about that trade, we all know Calvin Johnson's the best,